disrupted. It was meant to be Jake Paul taking on Tommy Fury. Obviously, Tommy Fury has come out now and said that he's got a broken rib, difficulty with his lungs and his breathing. I think he has even put out some medical records, and he has put out a few things to show that that is legit. But either way, that's not the fight that we're getting. The fight that we're getting now is going to be Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley this weekend, and we are doing the watch-along for it. We will be doing the watch-along for that, and I am very, very excited. We've watched his previous... I think we've watched all of his previous fights on this channel, so we've got a good knowledge, a good idea as to what Jake Paul's going to be bringing. Tyron Woodley, of course, we watch UFC every weekend. We've seen loads of Tyron Woodley fights. We know what Tyron Woodley's going to be bringing as well. And I'm really, really looking forward to this. A lot of people asking, who do I think is going to win? I've got to tell you, I'm leaning towards Jake Paul. I think that in the first fight, I was leaning to Tyron Woodley. I thought that Tyron Woodley looked very, very good, and you could debate as to who won that fight, in all fairness. It was very close. The judges went with Jake. I think if the judges had gone with Tyron Woodley, there wouldn't be too many arguments. We actually did a poll immediately after, and I think it was something like 30% of people thought Jake Paul won, 50% thought that it was Tyron Woodley, and then 20% thought that it was a draw. So people were seemingly very, very split as to which way that first fight had gone. So it is a myth to think that this is one-way traffic. It is a myth to think that this was all Jake Paul in that first fight. It was not. It was not all Jake Paul in that first fight. It was very, 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 very close. What I do have to say is credit to and hats off to Jake Paul. I've got nothing but respect for Jake Paul because he has taken this fight on last minute. I don't think that's wise. I do worry for Jake Paul for this because Tyron Woodley is shown that in that first fight it was a draw, or very close to a draw. They gave it to Jake Paul in the end, which is fine. They could have given it Tyron Woodley. They could have given it Jake Paul. It could have been a draw. It was one of those that was very, very close. And they gave it to Jake Paul. And I think that for him to step up and take this rematch on such short notice, you've got to give him credit for that. You've got to give him credit for that. I know there's a lot of Jake Paul haters out there, but you've got to give Jake Paul credit for the fact that he is willing to accept this fight on short notice, mainly because he wants to give us a fight. He wants, people were excited, his fans were excited to watch him perform, so he wants to give us a fight, but he also wants to make sure that everyone else on the card is getting paid. So he wants to make sure that, Amanda Serrano is getting a paycheck and everyone that's on that undercard that's relying on him for some money this Christmas, he wants to make sure they get paid as well. So I do have to say, if you take that into account, where does that leave us? Because I don't think if Jake Paul wasn't the main event, I don't know that Jake Paul takes this fight. I mean, he might do. His pride might force him to. He might do for his fans. But honestly, wouldn't it just make more sense to delay this fight against Tommy Fury and just do it further down the road rather than taking on an opponent that you basically drew against last time? It's really, really, it's admirable stuff. And as I said, I think if he wasn't the person that was at the top of the card and the person that was responsible for bringing in the money for the whole card, that is pressure, man. That is pressure on his shoulders. What's he going to do? Turn around to everyone and say the show's off? He can definitely do that, and it wouldn't be his fault. It would be Tommy Fury's fault. So he could definitely do that. But I must admit, for all the stuff that Jake Paul has done, I really do respect the fact that he is still giving us a fight. I respect the fact that this weekend coming, we've got something to look forward to. This weekend coming, we've got something we can get our teeth into. We can talk about. We can do this press conference. We can do that watch along. I really respect that with Jake Paul. So I would say that there's been a few things he's done that's kind of made me go, yeah, respect. respect. I really respect that. And this is absolutely one of them. The fact that we're still getting a fight this weekend. 50/50 TV said, can't wait for day one. Glad to support you. 50/50. Shout out to you. I hope you're well. Edward said, did you see that Tommy versus Jake happen as Jake's coach said that it 100% happened? Tommy said it's the only fight that he wants. Do I see the fight happening? I mean, Jake Paul, I think, is unknown as to what the future's going to hold. I know that, Tommy's going to want it. Of course, Tommy's going to want it because it's big, big money. But does Jake Paul need it? Like, Jake Paul, I believe, genuinely has got 20 options on the table, if not more. Like, serious options. And, Tommy Fury, because of the name and the fact that he is a professional boxer, which is what a lot of people are talking about. A lot of people are saying that, professional boxer, that's who he needs to face next. I know that's not what Tyron Woodley is. I fully am aware of that. But that last fight was so close, and Tyron Woodley is still such a big star. I've got no problems with this fight this weekend. Yes, I did think that Tommy Fury could be the one to cause Jake Paul problems, because I think that if you see the height difference between Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley, the height difference is quite significant. The reach is quite significant. And we were seeing a lot in that first fight of Jake Paul just jabbing away, keeping Tyron Woodley back. Tyron Woodley was struggling to find a way through. When he was getting through, he was getting a few nice shots off. There was obviously that one big incident when Jake Paul was like against the ropes and everyone was screaming like, finish him, finish him. And Tyron Woodley didn't. And I know that he got a lot of bad rep for that, but I must admit, if you go rushing in, you do kind of put yourself at risk of being countered. You do put yourself in harm's way of stuff being thrown back at you. And I think Tyron Woodley was just being a stone-cold killer, to be honest. I think he managed to get through with something, rock Jake Paul, and in his mind, like, the door was open and he was going to be able to capitalize. But he wasn't rushing it. He wasn't forcing it. It'll be interesting to see what his strategy is this time, because he got a lot of criticism for that. So, look, the reason why we're talking about all this is because these are the things that we're going to be looking out for this weekend. Like, can Woodley find a way to slip the jab? Can he find a way of getting underneath those shots, getting on the inside, working the body, getting close up and getting some shots off and causing some damage? If he can do that, then that's going to be potentially a path to victory for Woodley. If he does connect big and rock Jake like he did in the first, will he capitalize? Will he have a different game plan this time? Will he jump in a little bit more this time? Or is he going to be as watchful? That is something else that we're looking out for when it comes to Paul and Woodley. In regards to Jake Paul, how's he going to look preparing for Tommy Fury? A very different fight. How's he going to look having been Fury? Now it's Tyron Woodley. Like, how's that switch going to work? So that is something else that we're looking out for when it comes to Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley this weekend. Plus, you got to remember that Tyron Woodley went and got that tattoo. Now, did he get the tattoo? I don't know, right? I don't know if he actually got the tattoo. Obviously, we've all seen the picture, and it's written on his finger. And I don't know if that's a legit tattoo or not. The I, Jake Paul, I think could be legit, but then the love looks like it's been written on in biro. So I'm not sold that that's like tattoo. I mean, I'm sure it'll be part of the press conference. I'm interested to know, has he still got it? Does it look the same? Has he just had to rewrite it all back on last night or something? Is Jake going to make him prove that it's a legit tattoo? Or I have no idea. You never quite know what kind of spectacle you're going to get when it comes to these press conferences. So, I mean, even the ones with Tommy Fury were like, a clown show. So, but I'm definitely here for a clown show. Yes, it's going to bring shame on the sport. Yes, it's a bad look for everyone, but damn, it can be entertaining. So I am going to be watching, and I would love for this to be a normal press conference. In all truth, I would love for this to be legit and for it to be relatively respectful. I'm expecting some words to be exchanged. What I don't like is when Jake Paul descends into just making noise. You know, we've seen those kind of press conferences where it's like, nah, just making noise on a microphone. Someone's talking, and he's going, nah. Like, oh, that really grates, man. That really gets to me. Like, I find that really annoying. But maybe that's all part of his brand. Maybe, like, you know, him coming in as a bit of a heel and irritating people and just winding people up and acting immature. It's maybe just all part of the show. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what we're going to get. I think it will be petty at times. There might be some good one-liners at times. The tattoo conversation will be interesting. I'm interested to see what both guys look like. And yeah, man, honestly, I'm so excited for it. I really am excited. This is why I've got respect for Jake Paul for this weekend and giving us the show this weekend. And the fact that this just hasn't been cancelled. You know, he can definitely walk around with his head high, still giving us a fight and ensuring that undercard gets paid. I'm with you. What time is it there? LDTV, shout out to you. Are we watching the fights this weekend, buds? You can remove tattoos. Yeah. So you can get tattoo removal. I think it hurts, and I'm not sure that I don't know, does it totally go? Or does it just fade? Or a lot of people tend to get cover-ups, don't they? So, I mean, I don't have any tattoos, so I'm not really too knowledgeable on that realm. But either way, like, I've got I'm under no illusion that Woodley will get that covered or removed if it can get removed completely. I'm under no illusion that he will be doing that at some point in his life. But in order to get this fight, the annoying thing is, the upsetting thing is, you know, if he hadn't have got the tattoo, I still think they would have been calling him up here. So he didn't need it. Like, he got the... I don't really get legally how it all works, to be honest, because I haven't heard anything on this, but he got the tattoo so that he could have the rematch. And then he didn't get the rematch. They went to Tommy Fury. How does that work? Like, how is it that he went and did what he was asked to do, and he never got the match? Like, I don't get this. It was in the contract. I love Jake Paul. And then he got the tattoo and he never got the rematch. I don't get how that worked, to be honest. Legally, surely that was binding. I understand there was question marks about the tattoo. I totally understand that. But if the tattoo was proven to be real, then surely he should have been next, surely. The man got a tattoo. But the annoying thing is, the upsetting thing is that because Tommy Fury has dropped out, the easy alternative, the fight that needs no build, is this one, you know. So I've got a feeling that he would have picked up the phone to him anyway, even if he didn't have that tattoo, and said, look, Tommy Fury's dropped out, you're next. Aseeb said, why are you excited for this fight? I think it's a load of rubbish and a waste of time. I don't support this disrespect to the sport that I love. I'm looking forward to this fight because it is what it is. I mean, if you want to watch fighters at an elite level going after championships and everything, then you can absolutely go and do that. And you can watch Teofimo Lopez, you can watch Usyk, you can go and watch, Lomachenko, Alvarez, Inoue. Like, you can go and watch all those fighters. This is a fighter that's come in Jake Paul, who is trying and working at climbing up the ladder. The fights themselves are not that disrespectful in regards to, okay, he hasn't fought a professional boxer yet, but he has fought a former UFC champion in Tyron Woodley and will do this weekend, which I can agree with people that say when boxers start off, they fight cans. They fight people that have got records of 0 and 100. They when a boxer starts out, they'll fight people that are just they're walking punching bags, and that's it. And their records are, 0-50, 0-100. I've seen 0-100 records. So the fact that Jake Paul hasn't started out and is fighting those names instead, he's fighting, okay, the basketball one was stupid. I completely agree with that. Like, the basketball guy, that was stupid. Yeah, he's got no fighting. But facing Ben Askren, I think as soon as he knocked him out, you go, as a UFC fan, you go, respect. I mean, he's shown that he's got knockout power. I mean, he has shown he can stand in there with a former Olympian, a former champion in MMA, someone that got to the UFC. He's been able to stand in there. I mean, not just that, but one of the best amateur wrestlers, which again, I know it's not striking, but you do have to respect the fact he got in there with a legit fighter. He is a fighter. I mean, Ben Askren is a fighter. It might not be boxing, but he is a fighter, and he is an athlete. He got in there with him, and he knocked him out. So you kind of, I've said there's a few things that make me respect Jake Paul, and the fact he was able to knock out Ben Askren is one of them. That made me respect him. Then he stepped it up and got in there with Tyron Woodley, and Tyron Woodley is a champion who was better with his hands than what Ben Askren was. Still not a boxer, but better with his hands. And that was a draw kind of in my mind, that one. And then, like, this fight, he was ready to fight Tommy Fury. I mean, I don't see how it would have been a disgrace for Jake Paul to fight Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury is an up-and-coming boxer. We've seen Tommy Fury. He's got a proper professional boxing record. Like, this is not the fight that was meant to be taking place. This was going to be, really, in my mind, Jake Paul now going up against and starting to go up against boxers. Like, he was going to face Tommy Fury in this fight, and then in my mind it was onto someone with a better record, I think he even said that in about 3 years' time he wants to be facing Alvarez. I genuinely believe that Jake Paul is working hard and putting in the hours and training all the time. I genuinely believe that for the past couple of years he is just training. So I mean, I don't see it as being disrespectful to boxing. I certainly don't think Amanda Serrano sees it as being disrespectful to boxing, because she's getting paid really well now, and he's helping out a few fighters get like better pay. I really respect that. I really respect the fact that we get a fight this weekend as well. I respect the fact that it's not. If he was still facing basketball players, then I would be completely there with the chat saying that this is just disrespectful to boxing. But the fact that he keeps stepping in up and leveling up, I mean, it's not really too much different than what you see from other people in boxing who start off facing, just jokes. There's just jokes out there with 0 and 100 records, and they just face them for a while, and then they just step it up and work their way through. Jake Paul's done that. I definitely think facing Nate Robinson was a mistake. I definitely think that fighting other YouTubers was a mistake. But saying that, would he have got the Ben Askren fight if he never did those other fights? Maybe it's only because he showed that he could actually knock people out and actually do stuff that Ben Askren was even a viable option. So it's difficult, isn't it? Without those fights, do you get Ben Askren? Without those fights, do you get Tyron Woodley? Without those fights, do these kinds of names just turn around and go, nah, you're just a YouTuber, you're a joke. Not interested in fighting you. Why would I waste my time in fighting you? So without those fights, do you even get to these fights? Don't know, man. It's an interesting question. Interesting thing to ponder. And as I said, I think that I've got respect for Jake Paul putting this fight on. I'm looking forward to the fight because the Jake Paul fights have always been entertaining. Even against Nate Robinson, it was a pretty nice looking knockout. Then, the Triller show that they did for Ben Askren was trash. That whole event was trash, but the fight itself was very entertaining. The Woodley fight was very, very close. As we said, it was kind of like a draw. And now we've got the rematch, So we've got a rematch. You've got Woodley desperate to get in there and show that he is the one. I mean, it's going to be really interesting. I don't know why, but for me, because he's already been awarded the victory against Woodley, in my mind, like, he's going to step in there and he's going to win this as well. And I don't know why I'm thinking that, because I remember the last time that they faced each other, it was kind of like a draw. I mean, I keep coming back to it because in my mind, it was a draw. Like, it was so close that it absolutely was not. Yeah, Jake Paul's got this. Jake Paul's got it. It was absolutely not that if you watched that fight. So I don't know why, but I'm really feeling Jake Paul's got this. And largely because he won the first fight. I do also think that he's kept developing, and for the age that he is, he's what, 24? Because he's 24 years old, he's going to keep improving, keep developing, keep kicking on. I think that, he can do that. Woodley can't. Woodley, at the age Woodley's at, I don't see Woodley getting better. I suppose in a way he might be able to get better at striking because it's not something that he really had. So he can learn more and he can get better at boxing and get better at striking. But I don't know. I just kind of feel that Jake Paul's overall improvement is going to be drastically greater than Tyron Woodley's. Like, Tyron Woodley can't at his age get faster. Whereas I think that Jake Paul could. Tyron Woodley, I don't think, can get more powerful at his age, whereas Jake Paul potentially could. And I do think that that's going to be a factor. Granted, it's only been a few months, but I do think Jake Paul's leveling up all the time. But the question marks will be, has Tyron Woodley leveled up? Because Tyron Woodley's striking was relatively limited. I don't think that's disrespectful. He can definitely throw hands, but actual boxing, the sweet science, I don't think he knew a great deal about. He learnt some in the training camp in the build to this. He's been doing more. Don't think that Woodley's been sat on the couch. He hasn't. I was just listening to Chael Sonnen, and Chael Sonnen was saying that Woodley's been out there training hard. Like, apparently Woodley had a fight coming up early next year, so he's been preparing for that. So he's been in the gym, working, training, getting ready for another fight, and then this one just fell into his lap. And don't forget, Jake Paul has said he will pay Tyron Woodley $500,000 more if Woodley can knock him out. So he's giving him that extra incentive of come and knock me out, try and knock me out, which I really respect that as well. The only way that I'm not going to respect that is if it turns out that in the contract there's a clause that says you can't knock me out. Like, if it's all just like a work, if it's all just a setup, and there was no way he was ever going to be able to knock him out. Because obviously there was a lot of rumours that clause was in the last fight. But, I've not seen any evidence of that. I've not seen Tyron Woodley mention that or talk about that. That just seems to be... I think it comes from the fact that when Woodley had Jake Paul hurt and Jake Paul was up against the ropes, he didn't capitalise. And I think it came out of that everyone started saying, oh, there's a no knockout clause clearly that's been put in there. I don't know that that's true, to be honest. I don't know that that's true. Days, fun fact, if Amanda Serrano wins her fight, because Katie Taylor won her fight, we apparently will get Taylor versus Serrano next year. What's your thoughts? Michael asks, when's the conference start? Should be in 6 minutes. Should be in 6 minutes' time. So, yeah, we've started about half an hour early just so that we can quickly blast through a few things, get a few comments. But the countdown clock, it's on Jake Paul's channel, and it says it's got 5 minutes 20 or whatever. This could be petty. This really could be petty, but I want to see what condition both fighters are in. I want to know what Tyron Woodley's saying. My gut feeling right now is Jake Paul wins. Is there anything here that's going to change that? That's what I'm interested in. In regards to Serrano-Taylor, that's probably the biggest female fight you could make. So, yeah, I'd love to see it. I'd imagine... I expect Serrano to win this. And then I expect that we will get that fight next year. But are you doing Chisora Parker on Saturday? No. Our focus is on this, and we've also got UFC as well. So, UFC is... it's a fight night, and if you come onto the channel on Saturday, it'll be Fury Woodley thumbnail, but in the build we'll keep an eye on the undercards. Definitely want to watch the Serrano fight on the undercard, but we will be keeping an eye on UFC as well. But the whole night is just building towards Fury and Woodley too. That is the main focus. So yeah, we've got UFC going on, we've got the Fury Woodley undercard going on, and as we said, the whole thing's building towards Fury Woodley. Legend Killer, shout out to you. Man United Brighton has been postponed. I did see that. What time do you think conference will start? We answered that. Right when my meeting starts, I will be back in about 30 minutes. Man United Brighton has been postponed. I did see that news, yes. When can we see the fight? The fight is this Saturday. So the fight is this Saturday, El Diamante. Saturday night, it's, as we said, meant to have been Jake Paul against Tommy Fury. But instead it's been changed over to this. I believe it's being shown on Showtime in the US and Fight TV in the UK. So if you are in the US, it's on Showtime. If you're in the UK, it's Fight TV. If you're in Canada or Australia, I believe it's Fight TV as well that are carrying it. If you wanted to know where you can watch it, how you can watch it. Of course, it's coming from America. So that means that it's going to be on, certainly for us, in the early hours as usual. But that's fine. I'm used to that. It's pretty much standard, isn't it? I've already paid for the fight. It's $60 on Showtime, says Michaela. Is it really? $60? I've got a feeling that it's going to be about, 20 quid? I'm going to have a quick look. I mean, we've still got a few minutes till the press conference starts. I haven't actually bought it yet. But, of course, I will be, and we will be watching it. It is 2 a.m. it starts. $23.99. $23.99. So, I mean, look, I don't know if VPNs work for you guys. But if you do have a VPN, I know that my friend, whenever there's wrestling shows on, he VPNs into the UK and then goes on to like Fight TV and orders it that way. It's $23.99 on Fight TV in the UK. So just saying, just throwing it out there. I don't know if that's something that works or is possible, but $23.99 on Fight TV in the UK. Didn't know you was doing this. We always do the Jake Paul ones. $22.99 says James Chadwick. Days can't sleep thinking about the bullet going up and getting that 139 strap to become a double champ. Maybe she will. Maybe she will. Who do you have winning the Taylor Serrano fight? I think it'll be a war. I think it'll be close. It's hard to see Amanda Serrano losing, so I think it would be close, but it would be like something like minus 160 Serrano, plus 200 Katie Taylor, something along those lines. So, but she'd be a live dog. Absolutely a live dog. So, yeah, I'd probably lean towards Serrano. At least boxing isn't dead, thanks to this guy, says Mikey Boy. Hope you are well. It's also on Jake Paul's YouTube. Yeah, it is, yeah. He's got on there, but at the moment it hasn't started yet, so we're still waiting for things to kick off. So, yeah, you're not missing anything. We are waiting for this press conference to get going. And as I said, it's going to be really interesting. The things to look out for, obviously, all the lines that are going to get thrown around, the little, digs back and forth. Those are going to get the headlines. I do want to see what both guys look like. I do want to see what Woodley's demeanor is like. Woodley was really cool, calm, collected the first time. I don't think he'll change that. But I'm interested to see kind of physically how he looks, mentally, how is he approaching this fight? Are they going to talk about that tattoo? I'm interested in that as well. There's a lot that I want to see. I want to see, what's Jake's demeanor, because Jake was obviously getting ready for Tommy, and now they've had to completely do a 180 and go with Tyron Woodley instead. So I'm very, very interested to see. How does Jake come in? Is he cool, calm? I'm guessing that he's going to be, but sometimes there's little moments that just make you go, not sure about that. Not sure about that answer, or he looks a little bit nervous there, or he's not as cocky as usual, or maybe he's going to be a bit quieter, or who knows? Who knows? These are the things to just keep an eye out for. But I'm pleased that they are doing this because obviously we've not had like a proper press conference for these two. Not for this fight anyway. We've had obviously press conferences for Jake Paul and Tommy Fury, but that fight obviously fell apart. So now here we are with Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley too, and this is going to be our first proper press conference with these two. We've seen lots of interviews with them in the build to this, but it's not the same as having them both there. So I'm looking forward to this. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what gets said about the first fight as well, and how that's referenced. And I don't know. I'm guessing Serrano will be there, and the undercard will be there. Information on this has been quite sketchy, to be honest. I haven't seen much info in regards to what this press conference is going to be like. So, yeah, it's been a little bit sketchy. I presume they're both actually there, and we're not getting, like, someone being zoomed in. Again, like, it'll be interesting to see kind of all of this info. Didn't the press conference get pushed back to 1 p.m. Eastern? Don't know. I mean, they've just been counting it down, so no would be the answer, because it's set up here for 2 minutes ago. So it's on Jake Paul's channel right now as being set up for 2 minutes ago, and there's just waiting. In fairness, I remember them making us wait last time as well, and I remember it not getting live at the time that it was meant to. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure they'll get round to starting it soon. Dave's thoughts on Aguero, best Premier League player of the last 10 years, better than Salah. I mean, Aguero is got fourth most goals in the Premier League. And obviously, maybe the Premier League's most iconic moment. So, is he a better player than Salah? I think it'd be very close. I think Salah this season is as equal to, if not better than Aguero. I think they're very comparable this season. Over a career, probably have to go with Aguero just because of how consistent he was. But don't forget, Aguero had a lot of injuries, which kind of hampered him. So if you take that into account, you know, if Salah can stay with Liverpool and kind of get up there with goals, I don't know where he is on the all-time goal-scoring list, but if he can kind of get up there and get into, you know, a bit closer, then he'll start to get into that conversation. Edward said, as a boxer myself, I say it's great for the sport. Jizzle said, where do I watch the press conference? Same question as Brian. Press conferences on Jake Paul's channel. There's 5,000 people waiting over on Jake Paul's channel for this to get going and for this to start. As we said, it was meant to start about 4 minutes ago. There was a little countdown clock. The countdown clock has now ended, and it literally says waiting for Jake Paul. So, yeah, at the moment we are just waiting for things to get going. Drizzle Dog answered that one. I was betting on Jake in the first fight, but I'm not so sure on this one, says Mike. What makes you say that, Mike? Why are you not so sure on this one? Is it because it's lastminute.com that maybe Jake Paul's not prepared for Woodley? The only thing I would say is that they have fought before. So, I mean, Jake Paul is going to know what it was like. It was his last fight. So he's going to know what it's like to be in there with Woodley. He's going to know what it's like to, you know, fight with Woodley and exchange shots with Woodley and Woodley's movement. I don't know how much Woodley will have changed since they last fought each other. I don't know what different game plan Woodley can really come in with. He was just kind of getting kept back and jabbed. I mean, maybe Woodley could be a little bit more aggressive. Maybe he might be able to turn up the aggression, but the problem is if he does that, he's going to get caught more. He's going to get hit with that jab more. And I don't think that would worry Woodley. I don't think Woodley's too worried about, like, getting jabbed, but there's no denying that Jake Paul has got power. There's no denying. I mean, like, he's got, like, lots of knockouts. I think, hasn't he finished everyone except for Woodley? I mean, that's kind of significant, isn't it? He's finished all of his opponents except for Tyron Woodley. This is the one man that Jake Paul wasn't able to put away. And as we said, part of that was maybe Woodley's strategy of not being aggressive and not racing in, not putting himself in harm's way. I mean, Woodley absolutely does not want to be one of those memes of showing people being knocked out, you know. He doesn't want that. He wants to make sure that he, of course, wins the fight. But if he's going to lose on points, don't get sparked out, don't get knocked out. So yeah, I think that this is going to be more of the same. I'm thinking more of the same. I don't think that Woodley is going to... He might turn the intensity up just a touch, but nothing drastic. I'd be stunned if he was to go out there and just really start bullying Jake Paul, driving Jake Paul. I'd be stunned if he was to take that approach. So I'm not expecting that from Woodley. So I'm feeling a bit more confident for Jake Paul because I think we've seen how this fight goes in the first fight. I'm expecting more of the same. Yes, there could be a surprise. I'm not expecting a surprise. So I'm expecting it's just going to be more of the same, to be honest. How did Salah buy the UCL? Days, I'm looking forward to the fight. It's going to be good. Sean said, Woodley wins. End of discussion. Brian said, the last fight I bought was Tyson versus Holyfield 1. Rematches genuinely go the same way, says Jellyheads. Roxas says, I don't see it when I search for it. It's right here. I mean, I don't know if it will show, but it's right there. Press conference at the moment on his channel. There's about 5,000 people waiting, and as we said, it hasn't even started yet. 5,200 waiting at the moment. It was hard to find, and in fact, information on this was very difficult to find. I thought that there was going to be loads of info out there about this, but there wasn't. There was people talking about it last night and about how it was on today. And then there was this that was set up on his channel. So information regarding it has been difficult to come across. So, yeah, I don't know. All I can tell you is that it says that it starts 8 minutes ago. The last boxing fight I bought was Tyson versus Holyfield 1. Woodley is straight dookie sticks now, says Francisco. Mike said, I feel like he could have had him in the first, but he seemed like he didn't hit the gas to finish. He didn't hit the gas to finish. Yeah, I mean, the problem is, and we said this earlier, that if you race in, you do stand a chance of getting clipped. What we've seen with Jake Paul is that he's got a nice variety of strikes, but his general kind of game is very basic. So it's not like, he's throwing in beautiful combinations, right, left with uppercuts and everything. We're not seeing things like that. We're seeing like jabs. We're seeing good footwork, seeing decent movement. We're seeing he's kind of, it feels like he's really learning and cementing the fundamentals. So what you don't see from him is like anything world-class or mind-blowing, right, when it comes to Jake Paul. And honestly, at the stage that he's at with his career, why would you expect that? So I feel like it's relatively simple stuff that you see, but he does it relatively well. And as we said, we know that he possesses power, so we know that he's definitely got some power. So yeah, it's a case that I'm expecting it to be the case that Tyron Woodley is not going to try and force things. If he does, I think that Jake Paul could always counter. I think that Woodley's game plan was all right. He just didn't do quite enough to get it in the eyes of the judges. I think the problem was what won it for Jake in the last one is what I think could win it for Jake this time, and that's the jab. His reach. I mean, when you see the height of both of these guys, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Like they're just like. Jake is so much bigger, and he can jab away and just keep Woodley at bay, and I think he's just going to look to keep doing that. What Woodley has got to do is find a way of ducking under that jab and working his way close. But as soon as he does that, Jake Paul will grab him, and they'll clinch up, and then the referee will separate them, and that process starts again. I expect a lot of that in this fight. A lot of it. I expect that to be the fight. Jake just jabbing away, keeping Woodley back, Woodley trying to find a way through, being quite watchful, occasionally slipping the jab, getting on the inside. As soon as he does, Jake Paul will grab him, and then we start all over again. And whilst Jake Paul's jabbing away at Woodley, if some of them are getting through and landing, then that's giving Jake Paul the edge, isn't it? So it's difficult. It's really difficult to know how Woodley's going to do this. He's going to have to really slip the jab and unload very quickly to get something through to Jake Paul. Slip the jab and, strike before Jake Paul can take a step back or go for the clinch. Woodley's got to be quick. He's got to have fast hands. And at his age and his lack of boxing experience, I don't know that he's got that hand speed. I don't know that he's got the ability to do all of that as quickly as what it needs to be done. He needs to slip the jab and get the shot through before Jake Paul. I mean, you are talking milliseconds. You're talking really like those milliseconds that it takes to grab someone. So it's I can see it being more of the same. Where can I watch this? You can watch it over on Jake Paul's YouTube channel. At the moment, there's 5,200 people watching. And as we said, the little countdown clock has finished. And we are just waiting. Press conference is in an hour. There are people saying that, yeah. Jake Paul has now put it on Instagram. Oh, has it got delayed, has it? Okay, Anza. Okay, so if it's in... Well, okay, so it'll be in 48 minutes then now. That's annoying, isn't it? So what, there's been a delay to it? Brilliant. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. It says it starts at 1 p.m. Check Showtime Live. Has he said as to why it's been delayed at all? Let's have a look and see what... let's go on his Twitter. Jake Paul's Twitter. Jake Paul. Tommy Fury's... No, nothing on his Twitter account. You said it was on his Instagram. I never use Instagram. I never go on Instagram, so this is a rare trip for me. I can't see anything on his Instagram either, to be honest. No, I can't see anything on the Instagram either. I don't know. Perhaps it's somewhere. I can see a few people saying it. I know it's a payday, but okay to Woodley for coming back and all. I agree. I mean, fair play to Woodley, fair play to Jake Paul. As we said, it's a big fight. I mean, there's a lot of kids that don't watch boxing. There's a lot of kids that aren't into boxing or aren't into MMA. But this will be their only exposure to this world. Watching the likes of Amanda Serrano, they would never have heard of her. And so, getting to watch her just before Jake Paul, it's introducing them. Amanda Serrano feels like a bigger star now because of, her being on the Jake card. Not only that, Jake kind of took her under his wings. Isn't she signed to his management now? So, I believe she's signed to his management. So, she definitely feels like a bigger star as a result. And I kind of think that, fair play to Jake Paul. He easily could have just postponed the fight and then everyone would have, we wouldn't have had anything this weekend apart from, I think, Chizora's fighting against Parker and UFC, but neither of them are this level. I mean, Jake's fight with Ben Askren, I think I'm right in saying, is in the top 10 pay-per-views of all time. Top 10 pay-per-views of all time. I mean, there's no denying the interest that Jake Paul generates. So, I kind of feel like fair play to Jake for making sure we still have a fight to look forward to. Fair play to Jake for ensuring that the undercard still gets paid. And as Miss Clown said there, fair play to Tyron Woodley for taking it at short notice. The only thing I would say is that he desperately wants the payday. He desperately wanted this fight. He went and got a tattoo. So I don't know how surprising it is that he has accepted the fight because, as we said, he was so desperate for it anyway. But yeah, I mean, look, I've seen a little bit of the training, Jake Paul's training. I think he's looking pretty good. You can't really ever tell much from those training clips. You can't really ever tell much from those training videos. But, you can tell from his previous fights that he is improving. Like the Jake Paul that we saw against Tyron Woodley is miles ahead of the Jake Paul we were seeing against Nate Robinson or Deji or, people like that. So I kind of feel like, he is improving, he is putting the work in, and I'm getting close. I'm getting real close to having, like, proper respect for him. Real close. Because I think what he's doing with making sure those fighters are getting paid better, I really respect that. And what is the fact that he's still making sure we got a show just before Christmas this weekend to look forward to, I really respect that. The fact that, whenever people say, okay, you fought a YouTuber, but you need to fight an athlete, so he goes and fights an athlete. Okay, you fought an athlete, but you need to fight a fighter, so he went and fought a fighter. Okay, yeah, but not that fighter, a better fighter, so he went and fought a better fighter. Okay, yeah, but not that, a boxer, he was about to fight a boxer. So I respect, there's a few things about Jake that I really do respect. But then he does those press conferences where he makes stupid noises and he does my head in. So I've got a love-hate relationship with Jake Paul. Sean said, Days, if we see Jake lose in this fight by getting knocked out, do we see him coming back to boxing and still being this cocky person? Yes. If he gets knocked out, if he gets put down and knocked out, I mean, Jake can't lose, right? That's the sad fact. He can't lose because if he does lose the fight, there's, and he gets knocked out, yes, that definitely takes away from Jake and definitely takes away from this first phase of Jake's career. This first phase is people wanting to see him get knocked out, yeah? And he knows, he surely knows that there is a very, very real prospect that that's going to happen, yeah? If you get into a boxing ring, there's a very real prospect that you will at some point get knocked out. Like, a lot of the greats have been knocked out. A lot of the greats, nearly all the greats have lost fights. And a lot of the greats have been knocked out. I mean, Mike Tyson was knocked down against Buster Douglas. So if it can happen to Tyson, it can happen to Jake Paul. So he definitely knows that, and he's stepping in there. But he is just trying to make money, as much money as he can on the journey, basically, whilst he's still, trying to avoid being knocked out. He's trying to make as much money as possible. And every fight he has just seems to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger because everyone's desperate to know who is the person that's going to do it first. That's what people are waiting for. Who's the person that's going to do it first? Who's the person who's going to be the Jake Paul killer? That person's going to be a made person, man. They really are. So, the longer it goes on, the bigger deal that's becoming. But when he gets knocked out, that'll be the end of that, really. Then no longer is it who's the first person to do it. I wonder if at that point then we see Jake Paul really start to focus on boxers and really building a boxing career, maybe a bit more of a traditional way. Making sure that he's facing more boxers, maybe with names not as great, but these are the names that he needs to be beaten to be getting into, like, title contentions. So I could see him going a different way. I can't see a way that Jake Paul's going to avoid facing some of those boxers that are, not around the title picture. If he goes up against, like, some of the champions, that's just a big fight. But you're going to have to beat proper boxers to get there. And they're not going to be names that everyone's going to know. So he's going to have to, at some point, go and face boxers and get himself in contention. He is making noises to go after titles. Make no mistake as to what the end game is. Jake Paul wants to be a world champion. Will he achieve that? I have no idea. But what I do know is that along the way, he is going to have to face some boxers that don't have a very big name. Now, obviously, the Tommy Fury has got a decent name because of Tyson Fury. But Tommy Fury is right at the bottom of the pecking order. So, Jake Paul's going to have to face some of those kind of fighters that are, at the bottom of the top 10 or just outside the top 10. He's going to have to face them. I can't see a way that Jake Paul's going to avoid boxers or just keep taking on people and then find his way getting a title shot. I just don't see it. So if he does get knocked out, it might not be the worst because then that means that people stop tuning in to see Jake Paul, who's going to be the one to beat Jake Paul. Maybe his career then maybe goes a bit more traditional and he starts facing boxers with less of a name. Yes, the pay-per-views won't be as big, but the pay-per-views would take a hit anyway because of the fact that he's been knocked out now. So now he can then concentrate on trying to work his way up the rankings. And maybe he switches that way. If he is serious about wanting to become a world champion, and I believe he is, maybe his focus switches at that point. Really, until that point, I think he's still going to be trying to get names that people are aware of. He is still looking for names that resonate. I think, after Tommy Fury, it becomes a little bit difficult. After Tommy Fury, you might have to go and get a boxer that's kind of been retired for a while. You might have to get a boxer that's got a name that's, maybe the wrong side of 40. Maybe you'd have to go and get someone like that. I don't really know what boxers are out there that have got records similar to Jake, that have got names like Jake. There's no one. There's no one even remotely close that has got a record like Jake's, who's starting out like Jake and is a proper boxer. And I can't think of anyone who that would be. Like Tommy Fury, because of the Fury name, was very unique. So it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. I mean, obviously, he's just taking it one step at a time. Him and his team look at the offers on the table. They try to find the fight that people would want to see. And but all the time, he's trying to step it up so that he can get closer to world titles. So it's a real balancing act. It's a real juggling act. Yeah, I mean, I think he's done all right so far. I think he's done very well so far. But in picking his opponents, I think he's done well also. Trini, shout out to you. Jake Paul is not the GOAT. He might look like one, but he's not the GOAT. Stop being silly, people. Did someone say that Jake Paul's the GOAT? I'm not a fan of Jake, but all that certain aspects I do have to respect. I would have rather watched him and Tommy, says Mike. Oh, definitely. I mean, I actually had Tommy edging that. I really thought Tommy was going to get that done because I know a lot of people were saying that Tommy's not a boxer, he's not a real fighter and all this, but he's got a proper professional boxing record. Like, he is a boxer because he's been boxing and he's beaten people and he's undefeated. I think it's like 4-0, 5-0. Yes, the people he's faced are cans and, there's not really anything significant there that you can take away from it. But they're still proper boxers that he's been fighting. He's still learning the fundamentals. I mean, the bottom line is he's a boxer. He doesn't do anything else outside of like the reality TV stuff. But he is someone that is training and working and preparing and getting ready for boxing matches. Like, that's what he does. That's what his life has been about. We haven't seen Jake Paul go up against someone like that. I know he spars with people like that. And so I think Jake Paul would have held his own. I don't think Tommy Fury would have gone in there and blown him away. But I do think that Tommy would have been the toughest challenge so far, because I think that he's been working on the fundamentals of boxing a lot longer than anyone that Jake Paul has faced up until this point. Sean Stone, shout out to you. Hope you are well. King Savage says Jake Paul is the GOAT. King Savage confirming that Jake Paul is the GOAT. If anyone was in doubt, I think that's for the Sweet Trini. The Sweet Trini has now been confirmed that Jake Paul is the GOAT. Miss Clown said, I feel real happy to be here. It's great to have you. We are apparently 36 minutes away, which is pretty wild considering it was advertised as being 24 minutes ago. But it's no problem for us to talk about the fight, talk about this weekend. As we said, we got UFC this weekend as well. If you do jump onto the channel this weekend, which I hope you do, I hope you join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We do watch-alongs all the time. We've been doing watch-alongs for years. So we've done Jake Paul's previous fights. We do UFC every weekend. We do pro wrestling as well. We do loads of stuff. We've done other boxing. We did the Tiafimo Cambosis Jr. fight. We've done some of the Triller stuff, which I can't even say without getting upset. Yeah, we've done like loads of stuff. So we will be doing UFC. We will be doing Jake Paul this weekend. And, yeah, I mean, as I said, nothing but respect at the fact that the fight is still going ahead. Or we're still getting a fight of sorts. Are we doing predictions for this fight? No. Woodley by knockout in the 3rd round, said the Patriot Breadman. I've bet $12,000 on Jake Paul winning, says Kian. First Class says, hello from London, Camden. Amazing. First Class, shout out to you. I love Camden. I went to the Camden Crawl music festival that was on many years ago now. I don't think it's happened for years and years and years. But I used to go to the Camden Crawl, went there a couple of years and loved it. Absolutely loved it. So the thing with that is I think it's a bit like South by Southwest, but a much smaller version. But basically you bought a wristband and then you could go into like all the venues that were participating for free. And there were pubs and clubs and loads of different venues. And you'd be able to go in, show your wristband, get inside. And then like there'd be like bands playing. And they had like some really good bands that were playing. They had like, I feel like they had Block Party. And I feel like there was the Yeah Yeah Yeahs one year. There was Block Party. There was British Sea Power. There was loads of brilliant bands. And that was many, many years ago now. But... yeah, if ever I go to London, I do tend to end up at some point in Camden. So shout out to Camden. Wow, this draw is complicated. What draw? Is it the... What draw? Is it the UEFA Nations League? Miss Clown said, I was in Camden today. Was you? Shout out to you. I just destroyed some lightly dusted sea bass. Nice. Who are you going for this Saturday? Wonderboy or Mohammed? Probably leaning to Bilal Mohammed, to be honest. Probably leaning Mohammed. Can't believe that's not the main event. I feel like that's a big fight. So, but yeah, I'm probably going Mohammed. First Class said, thank you, brother. Come back to Camden. And what a good idea. I never heard of that wristbanded thing before. I will look into it, enjoy some food here. Yeah, it was on for a good few years. And it was called the Camden Crawl. And, yeah, I went to it a couple of years and really, really enjoyed it. Fishy Go Boom said, if Tommy Fury out, he would have took the money and lost. He is a smart boxer from a smart boxing family. Jake Paul is glad he pulled out, and props to Fury for taking the heat. I mean, look, I no doubt in my mind whatsoever, Tommy Fury is injured and pulled out for that reason. I do not buy for 1 second the fact he's scared. I mean, it's such rubbish playground nonsense. It's rubbish. Like, it's just the kind of thing that you hear on playgrounds. Like, oh, you're scared, you are. Like, come on, grow up. These are grown men that agreed to fight. Tommy was doing the press conferences and I think genuinely got hurt and broke a rib, and he's put out medical records and everything. Why he has to prove that and put out medical is beyond me. I really don't know. Like, it's just petty. Really, really petty that the world just thinks that he's... just dropped out because he's all of a sudden become scared of Jake Paul. Come on. So I do feel for him. It's a big payday that's slipped through his fingers, man, and I really do feel for him. And obviously, the build was getting quite tasty. John Fury was getting pretty wound up, wasn't he, at those press conferences? So there was plenty of things that were getting quite tasty and things that were grabbing me. And genuinely, I thought Tommy Fury had one of the best chances as well to actually beat... Fury had one of the best chances to beat Jake Paul. So I was really into that fight, really intrigued by it. And I hope that we do get it still. Because if that one, slips away, we'll never know. We'll never know, was Tommy Fury the one? I mean, that would have made Tommy Fury. And right now, there's no denying that Tommy Fury just seems a little bit of a joke at the moment now. And I understand that because, he is the one that had to pull out of the fight. And then you've got other fighters coming out going, listen, we know fighters that have fought with broken ribs before and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, listen, if he had have gone in with broken ribs and you didn't know about it, and then after the fight he loses, and after the fight he goes, well... I did actually suffer a broken rib. I've just done that whole fight with a broken rib. People would be like, oh, it's just excuses. It wouldn't have changed people's opinions of the fight, would it? everyone would have been like, oh, just excuse. He's still got other ribs. Like, people would have been like that. So he couldn't win. He couldn't win. You've got to, if you take the fight, you need to fight it, of course. You need to be healthy. And if you're not healthy, then you either drop out the fight, you get called scared, or you take the fight, potentially lose. Obviously, it increases your chances that you're going to lose. And then if you say afterwards, no one would believe you. So it's one of them. Right now, his stock, I would say, is pretty low in the eyes of people. What he needs to do is he needs to go out there in his next fight, whoever it's against, and put in a devastating performance. He needs to look really good. He needs to look really good in his next fight, and actually, maybe put someone away, and then, just start to turn that negativity around to show that he is the real deal. Like, if anything, this whole experience should motivate him even more. He should become obsessed. Like, forget the reality TV stuff. I know that's something that he's just always done on the side, but now, this whole experience, he needs to just live boxing, just constant, no distractions, no alternatives. I want to see him do that. He's still young, and he can still, throw himself 100% into it. I don't think he was 100% into it before, but he was more into it than anyone else Jake Paul had faced. So, in my mind, Tommy was coming in as a guy the same height as Tommy, which I thought would be a problem, because last time Tommy fought Woodley, we saw Tommy... last time Jake fought Woodley, we saw him jabbing and keeping Woodley at bay with the jab. So, Jake and Tommy being the same height would mean that Jake would struggle to jab and keep Tommy at bay. So, it's going to be an interesting one, because I do think that Tommy Fury had the ability to maybe even fight Jake's game plan, and that's jab at Jake and keep Jake at bay, and jab away at Jake and score some points and win some rounds, which is something that Woodley can't do. I mean, Woodley can't just stand there, jab away, and win rounds. This is why this fight is going to be difficult for Woodley, because he's going to have to do something that he didn't do in the first fight, and that is get more aggressive, really rely on some of his speed, slip the jab, get on the inside, lovely hook shot, work the body a bit more, really rough up Jake Paul. Don't allow Jake Paul to fight his game plan, which is jab away, win rounds. Don't allow him to do that. Pressure him, bully him, but equally don't get caught with counters. Like, this is actually a really interesting fight. It's a really interesting fight because we saw where the careful, calculated Woodley, what that did in the first fight. And what it did in the first fight was resulted in it being pretty much like a draw, but the judges went with Jake Paul. He can't do that again. Because if he does that again, it's going to be the same result. So he's got to mix it up. And that's what I'm hoping to hear from this press conference. I'm hoping to hear Woodley turn around and say, like, he won't give us his exact game plan, but I want to hear him say that he knows what needs to have changed. He knows what he needs to do. He knows what went wrong in the first one, or what he didn't do enough of in the first one. So that's what I'm hoping to hear, which, I'm sure is what he would say. He won't go into the extent and to the length of telling us his actual game plan, but that was something that Jake couldn't do against Tommy Fury. Jake could not stand there and jab away at Tommy Fury and keep Tommy Fury back. Tommy Fury was as big as Jake Paul, and he was going to be able to... I mean, he could have bullied Jake Paul as much as Jake Paul can bully other people. So I was really down for seeing that. I thought the fact those two were boxers, same height, was really intriguing. And that's what I was looking forward to with those two. Was, what was Jake Paul's strategy going to be? Because he wasn't going to be able to do the same to Tommy Fury as what he'd done to Woodley. He wasn't going to do the same to Tommy Fury that he'd done to, like, Nate Robinson. that he'd done to a degree to Ben Askren. But the thing was, Askren, if you remember Askren, he did get in on the inside, and there are moments where he does actually get some shots off on Jake Paul. I remember Askren getting on the inside and doing some work, and I remember there being quite a bit of excitement about that because we hadn't seen anyone actually, go to work on Jake Paul. Askren did. He did. There's a very small part of that fight, because it's not the longest fight, but there is a small part of that fight where he does actually go to town, basically, and do some work on Jake Paul. He couldn't do it enough. He couldn't find any power, and as a result, it wasn't good enough. But there is a path to victory for Woodley, definitely. Didn't Woodley say he couldn't follow up when he rocked JP because his shoulder hurt? I don't think this is going to be any different. I didn't actually hear him say that, to be honest. I didn't hear him say that it was to do with the shoulder. Eddie said there's no press conference. The press conference was meant to start 36 minutes ago. Then heard that the press conference had been delayed an hour. And haven't heard anything since. Eddie saying that it's now off. I've not heard any confirmation of this. I hope it's not off. There's a lot that I'm looking forward to. There's people in the chat there saying that the press conference starts at 1. So seems like people are still under the impression that this press conference is starting in 20-odd minutes. I'll have a look on Showtime. It'd be great to know what's going on with this press conference. 21 hours. No one is talking about anything. To find information on this press conference has been a nightmare. Like, Jake Paul's not been talking about it. Showtime's not been talking about it. Let's have a look on their Instagram. Showtime accounts. Showtime boxing. Jake Paul leveling up. There's nothing on there either. I mean, all I can tell you is the press conference thing is still up, so. When is it streamed? Well, the latest rumours I heard were that the press conference was going to be in 22 minutes' time. My gosh, the press conferences for this whole fight have been a disaster. They have. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, this whole build has been a disaster, hasn't it? What with the change in opponent and everything, and the fact that they never could even get into the same room, could they? Like, the press conferences that we've had have been flipping someone on a TV, someone there and someone on a TV. Then we had all the John Fury stuff. Then Tommy Fury couldn't do the fight. Now we've got Woodley. Now this is our first press conference with these two. Now we've got a delay of 38 minutes with people saying it will start in 22. Days Boomers Only tried to ask a few times, what is your favourite Morrissey tune? Currently Hairdresser on Fire. I'm not a Morrissey fan, so I can't really answer that. I mean, I do have a few Smiths albums. I've got The Queen is Dead, which is probably a Meat is Murder. I remember listening to The Queen is Dead. I mean, is it How Soon Is Now? I mean, the one song that jumps out, because I remember like the buzz about the Queen is Dead album. I wasn't around when it came out, but I remember hearing that it's like an iconic album. And I remember putting it on, and it was, in the background. And I remember Frankly Mr. Shankly playing, and I thought it was just absolute rubbish. I should imagine it was the same like when you was a Beatles fan and you heard Yellow Submarine, and you were just like, what the hell is this? Frankly Mr. Shankly. I heard that on The Queen is Dead, and I was like, this sucks. This really sucks. So I've never got into the Smiths. Couldn't get into the Queen is Dead album, which is heralded as their best work. Morrissey, I've never got into either. Certainly not as a solo star. And he's a bit of a douche in he as well, which I don't think helps. Don't think he's the most popular. So an acquired taste, I would say, Morrissey. Days, no one is talking about this because no one cares. I think people care. I'm pretty sure people care. Pretty sure the fact that he has been in the top 10 for pay-per-view buys shows that people care. And there's no denying that this was going to be a well-purchased, and still is going to be a well-purchased event. I don't know how the change in opponent affects things. I don't know if that makes things better or worse, to be honest, when it comes to like how many people are going to be tuning in. Either way, I was tuning in, and I'm still tuning in. Craig Watts, shout out to you. Hope you're well, buddy. Shout out to everyone that's joining us. We are still waiting for information in regards to what's going on. I can tell you that at one point the official Jake Paul channel had 5,000 people waiting. Right now it's 3,700. And there's like conflicting reports about when it's going to start and what's happening. It would be super great if there's anyone could put out some sort of tweet or something just to let us know when this is happening or what's going down. Right now on Jake Paul's Twitter, there is absolutely nothing. There's nothing on there saying that this press conference is cancelled, which I'm really surprised at. I'm really surprised that there's not been any communication. Like, this is garbage. The fact that they can't tell us anything about this does suck. On Showtime, the only thing they've got on there was tweeted out 21 hours ago. So nothing on there. I'm just looking to see if there's any tweets or replies. Nope, still nothing on there. I'll just check Fight TV and see if there's anything on Fight TV. Fight TV. I mean, look, 18 minutes is what I'm expecting. 18 minutes, and then we go over to this press conference. Jake Paul would... Okay, here we go. Thank you. Thank you, Fight TV. Thank you, Fight TV. Fight TV. Fight TV are the only company that have actually tweeted something out. There's nothing from Showtime. There's nothing from Jake Paul. But Fight TV right there. And this was 11 minutes ago. Says press conference starts in less than 30 minutes. So there we go. Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley 2. Press conference starts in less than 30 minutes. That was 11 minutes ago. So I reckon we are looking pretty good for this press conference in 17 minutes time. So yeah, I think we are looking pretty good. People might tune in. A late change gives a better chance of him losing, said Just Alex. That's a really good shout. That's a really good shout. Anna said England have not been drawn yet. Sean, shout out to you. Fight TV has got it to start at 6 p.m. Okay, so that's 6 p.m. UK time is 17 minutes time. It starts at 1. That's what the Showtime stream is saying, says Gavin. Man, they're making us wait, aren't they? They're making us wait, but that's all right. That's all right. We're not struggling with things to talk about because there's been so much interesting build towards this fight, and we've covered like the differences between Tommy and Tyron Woodley. We've spoke about the different things that they bring. I mean, the one thing I will say that we haven't spoke about is that Tyron Woodley has got a lot of experience, a lot of fighting experience. And so him coming in as a last-minute change is going to be nothing to him. Him coming in as a last-minute change, he will be cool, calm, collected. He will be able to get ready very, very quickly for this. The only thing is, I think he would have wanted longer to have specifically prepared for Jake. Obviously, he's already fought him once, but, you know, I think he would have liked a proper dedicated camp. To really like, because I don't know who Woodley was facing in January, but apparently he's been training and getting ready since January, or for January. But I don't know who his opponent was going to be. His opponent might have been the same height as Woodley, so he might have been sparring and preparing for people that are much, much smaller than Jake. So it's hard to know, isn't it? It's difficult to know as to what preparations Woodley has been able to do. The only thing I can tell you is that Chael Sonnen said he saw Woodley not long ago, and he looked great. He looked in great condition, so just got to take that. He will come in ready for this. He will be ready for this fight. It's not like he's going to gas out after 1 or 2 rounds. He's been in the gym. He's been working hard. He is ready for this opportunity. England have been drawn with Germany. I'll take that. I'll take that. I actually, of all the teams, Germany is one that I would take all day long. So, yeah, I'll take Germany. I don't know who else we've been drawn with. Afternoon days, Poirier versus Diaz has been verbally agreed for UFC 270 as per Ariel Helwani. It's a weird fight. I mean, that doesn't do anything for Poirier, does it? What does that do for Poirier? I mean, Diaz is nowhere in the rankings. Like, I don't really get that fight. I mean, it's a money fight, and it's a high-profile fight, and it'll get a nice buzz. And, again, it's a nice payday, but doesn't do anything for Poirier getting anywhere back towards a title opportunity. So, don't know. Yeah. This is a huge risk. I think 500,000 bet is a dangerous move. 500,000 for a knockout to a guy like Woodley. Yeah, I mean, the only thing is, perhaps Jake Paul is going to use that as a way of getting Woodley to force the pressure. Do you know what I mean? Like, perhaps that is a plan by Jake Paul. Perhaps Jake Paul doesn't want Woodley to sit back. I mean, the problem is, if he sits back, Jake Paul just has to jab away. Woodley might be able to slip on the inside and do some work. Perhaps what he wants is he wants Woodley to be more aggressive, to come forward more. Because if he does that, because Jake Paul has knocked out everyone except Woodley, but that's because Woodley was very conservative, very watchful, was calculated, had a good game plan. And as we said, the end result was a very, very close decision for Jake Paul. Maybe it's all part of Jake Paul's plan to get Woodley to rush forward, get a bit desperate, hunt for a knockout, leave himself exposed, and Jake Paul can then get Woodley put away as well. So, yeah, it's a double-edged sword, that, you know. Double-edged sword. It could be a blessing and a curse. Man United Hodge said, this is going to be a crazy rematch. Tyron needs to back up his words. It's hard to say who's going to win. I hope all is well with you. Man United Hodge, shout out to you, my friend. Really appreciate the support. I agree. It's difficult to say who's going to win. I'm leaning to Jake Paul. If someone was to say to me who wins this fight, I'm leaning Jake Paul. I think Jake Paul takes it. But yeah, it's not an easy one to call because I do think Woodley's going to be hungry for this. I think Woodley was very disappointed at that first result. I think Woodley as well is very proud. He's a former UFC champion, of course, and someone that I think definitely doesn't want to be on, the losing side to Jake Paul twice. I mean, there ain't no other rematch he's going to get after this. This is it for Tyron Woodley. He is done after this. So the only way he'll get another rematch is if he wins, because then I think they'll do the trilogy fight. So if he loses, I think the next fight would be the trilogy fight. And then obviously we'd see who wins that. But yeah, this is going to be interesting. Jake, if he loses this, can say that the change in opponent messed him up. He was getting ready for a completely different fighter. He can say that, he's got that as his excuse. And he can say that obviously the next fight is the trilogy fight, and then they face to see who takes the trilogy. So even if Jake Paul loses, he ain't going to be losing because it sets up a massive trilogy fight. And obviously if Jake Paul wins that, then he continues along his way. Poirier and Diaz were supposed to fight each other before, but Dustin dropped out because of injury. And I said Group 1 is Austria, Croatia, Denmark, France. That should be easy for France, shouldn't it? I mean, look at that. Czech Republic, Switzerland, Portugal, Spain. A little bit tricky. Switzerland are tricky. Portugal are tricky. Spain. I'm really glad that England didn't get Spain, to be honest. Have you got a members button? There is a members button, but it doesn't show on all devices, unfortunately. Hungary, England, Germany, Italy. Oh, I don't like that. That's a bit of a group of death, innit? That's a little bit of a group of death. I mean, I fancy England against Hungary. I fancy England against Germany. England, Italy. I mean, Italy seem to be wobbling a bit at the moment. I'm not sure about that. That looks a bit tricky. England, Hungary, Germany, Italy. Apparently, if you are just joining us, we're about 10 minutes away from this. 10 minutes away from this press conference. Ben Askren, Nate Robinson, who you got? Oh, I like that question. I would think Ben Askren. Because Nate Robinson has got no fighting background whatsoever. So I would think that Ben Askren would go in and be able to... yeah, I mean, both of them are pretty rubbish boxers, both rubbish strikers. So, do you know what? That'd be a fight I would like to see, actually. I'd like to see that. I would lean Ben Askren, but who knows? Group 4, Wales, Poland, Netherlands, Belgium. We got Italy, Germany, and Hungary in one group. Exciting. Revenge on Italy time. I think it's a tough group, that, isn't it? I mean, I suppose in a way they're all quite tough, but, I mean, if England had been drawn with Belgium and Netherlands, that would have been tough. If we'd been drawn with Portugal, Spain, instead we got Germany, Italy, so... it's football, not soccer, and shush, we talk about it. If Woodley lets his hands go, it's not even close. We all saw T. Wood was stronger, better fighter. Jake stole rounds doing next to nothing. Woodley was better, said Juds. Well, I mean, that's exactly what we're here for. We're here for that kind of interesting fight, aren't we? We're here to see who wins the rematch. I mean, both of them know what to expect. Both of them can make adjustments. And now we're going to find out who is the better fighter. So, yeah. It's simple days. Diaz, Poirier don't like each other, and it's a good money fight. Yeah, it is. It's money. Simple as that. I think it's been called off. Not what Fight was saying. Fight TV was saying that 11 minutes ago that we were half an hour away, and that was about, 20 minutes ago now. So, still waiting for... Yeah, 21 minutes ago, they said the press conference starts in 30 minutes. So, as far as I know, we are still going over to it. I just want to have a look. Apparently, it's on. It's on. Fight. Yes. 7 minutes. Yeah, there is a little countdown clock. I'm going to watch it on Fight. I was going to watch it on Jake Paul's YouTube channel, but there's people that keep jumping into the chat over there saying that he's started a new stream and all this kind of stuff. It just seems a bit confusing, so I'm just going to watch it on Fight TV. Don't forget, guys, if you are watching the fight this weekend, so are we. We are watching the fight this weekend. Apparently, we are 7 minutes away from this beginning, and if you do want to join us, make sure that you do. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe and joining us on Saturday night. We will be watching the undercard, the fights. Very, very exciting stuff. Really, really looking forward to this. So we've got the countdown, 6 minutes or so, and then we should be going over to this delayed press conference, delayed by an hour press conference, which sucks a little bit, but it's going to be worth the wait, I'm sure. We need a Days Community Boxing Charity event. Yes, that would be amazing. Days LDTV staff has handed this latest report to me. Kevin Lee versus Diego Sanchez in the works for Eagle FC. That's at 165, isn't it? I've heard that. I heard they signed Kevin Lee and at 165, so I'm guessing that's going to be at that weight. Days, I think $22.99 for the fight is a rip-off, says Retribution. Reese said his thumbnail keeps changing and there's lots of spam in that chat. Well, I don't know where else you can watch it. All I can tell you is that Fight TV have got it, but I don't know how Fight TV works in America. I don't think it will be showing it in America unless you got a VPN. You can always jump onto the UK version of Fight TV, and it's free. So it's free. You don't need to pay to watch the press conference. King Savage said Jake Paul will get knocked out if he doesn't damage Tyron Woodley in the first rounds. Well, I mean, look, we've got a couple of minutes, but we've had over 1,000 votes now. Over 1,000 votes, which is quite a lot of feedback. And it is close. Oh, this is really good, you know. We haven't been looking at the poll, but we've had 1,109 votes. And we have got Jake Paul wins 48%. Tyron Woodley wins 46%. 5% think there'll be a draw. That 48-46. That is one of the closest polls we have ever done. That is one of the closest polls we have ever done. So Jake Paul wins 48%. Tyron Woodley wins 46%. Daze, what is your prediction for the Arab Cup final? I'm not watching it, so I genuinely don't know. Scourge said, what would be your dream opponent for Jake to fight at the end of his career? I mean, like, it's hard to answer that because I don't know where he's going to be at the end of his. I don't know when the end of his career is going to be, and I don't know. Like, I mean, you can, if he's going to get up there to world championship level. I know he wants to fight Alvarez. Will that fight ever happen? I don't know. Alvarez might want to take it for the money. So, you know, would that be the end? Would that be how it ends? You know, Jake Paul has his career. If he gets half decent to the point where a fight with Alvarez feels like it would draw, you know, people's attention. I mean, like, if Jake Paul gets to a point where he's just getting smashed fight after fight, then no one's going to be too interested in seeing him against Alvarez because Alvarez is just going to destroy him. So we're not going to... It's a hard one to answer because we don't know what Jake Paul's going to go on to achieve. I think he can still pick up wins and still move forward, but there's going to come a point where he's really going to be tested. And you could say that he was really tested against Tyron Woodley because, as we said, that fight felt like it was a draw, to be honest. It really felt like it had ended in a draw. I mean, I can't remember exactly how I'd have to go back and rewatch it now, but I remember it being very close. I thought that Jake Paul might have edged it. I was leaning to a draw. I thought that they both took rounds, and I thought it was very, very close. I mean, I think you lot thought it was close as well as a community because 48% of you think it's Jake Paul and 46% of you think it's going to be Tyron Woodley. So this is a really good last-minute opponent to step in. Really good last-minute opponent because he's credible. He did a good job. He's the only person that Jake Paul didn't finish. People have still got respect for Tyron Woodley. It's not like Jake Paul. It's not like this is a rematch of him against Ben Askren. Do you know what I mean? Like where he knocked out Ben Askren and we all got to see how bad Ben Askren's striking actually was. This is someone that Jake Paul struggled against and went the distance with and tested Jake Paul. And, you know, it's a good rematch. Legend Killer said Glock Anderson and Brock Anderson versus Jake Paul. Jake won't lose more than 2 fights before he stops boxing, says Reese. They're both going to gas out, and it will be a unanimous decision win for Jake, says Sander. I think you can watch UFC's pay-per-view through Hulu, but it's an add-on. I don't know how it works there. In the UK, it's on BT. So BT Sport is where you watch it in the UK for UFC. I see Jake winning by knockout, says Brandon. I feel that there will be a moment where Jake Paul lands a counter overhand right to T. Woodley like he did in the 4th, but this time drops him. That's really interesting. Jake Paul versus Masvidal, who wins? For me, it would be Masvidal. I think Masvidal is one of the best strikers in UFC. The only thing I would say about his striking is that it's not very technical, but he just tends to like throw. And he's kind of come up through backyard fighting and everything. So, yeah, I would be leaning towards Masvidal on that one. But because he's kind of known more for his striking. He is a striker. So he's known more for his striking than what Ben Askren was or even Tyron Woodley. So, yeah, I would be leaning towards Masvidal on that. But it'd be good. That would draw. That would definitely get people's attention. Right, I can tell you the countdown clock has ended, and right now we've just got a graphic on screen. Press conference coming soon. Woodley, Paul, 2, and literally that's all we've got at the moment. Just a little graphic. But at least there's no countdown clock anymore. So, yeah, we were meant to go to this an hour ago. It got delayed. Here we are. Still waiting. I think Woodley gasses out early because of the short camp, and he will swing for a knockout early. Then if he doesn't get the knockout, Jake stops him. King Savage said Jake Paul versus Logan Paul. Who have you got, Jake Paul? Will there be press conference? Yeah, well, I'm guessing so, yeah. I mean, it was meant to be an hour ago. It's now been delayed an hour. Just had a countdown clock on Fight TV. Now we've got a graphic that just says, like, coming soon. So... yeah, as far as I know, we are meant to be getting one, yes. Thanks to your veteran cap to date. Last night you were itching like mad, said LDTV. Jake and Logan tag team versus Ray Leonard. How many rounds is this fight? 8. Do you know, I don't know. I don't know if they've changed it. I don't know if it's 8 or 10. I wonder if it's listed on Tapology. Let's have a look. Tapology. I'll have a look on there. Jake Paul. Yeah, as soon as the conference goes live, I'll let you know. But right now, we've just got a graphic up. Paul Woodley 2. 8 3-minute rounds. Yes. So, there's how many fights? 7 fights on that card. So, we've got Amanda Serrano against Gutierrez. Amanda Serrano is 41 wins. Oh, it started. They're just showing us footage of the open workouts. So, this was the open workouts from the other day. Tyron Woodley said there were shots that he saw that he could have thrown. Jake Paul came in. Is this when he jumps out and jumps into the swimming pool? Just starts swimming. The shot that he caught me with was a lucky shot, says Jake Paul. This isn't the conference, by the way. This is just footage of yesterday's open workouts. Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley 2 on Showtime. And here we are. We have gone over. Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. This is taking place in Tampa, Florida. Okay, so we haven't had anyone come out yet, but at least the press conference has started. Any talk of it not taking place, fake news. We have got Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell. We've got like it feels very UFC actually. There's a podium in the center. And then we've got 2 long tables either side. And it's going to be very much like a UFC press conference with when Dana stands in the middle. And like you've got your champions one side, your opponents the other side. They're just giving flashbacks, yes. Lawrence said proposals for the Premier League to be... Oh, yeah, I mean, it's all spiraled, isn't it, in the past... flipping 24 hours. Postponed. Is that going to happen? I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Right, we've got fighters making their way out. I can see the undercard has just come out and taken their seats. So we've got Amanda Serrano, who I can see in the background. I don't know much about the other fighters. Darren Williams and Frank Gore. Alamo versus Paro. So there's a few fighters here that I'm not familiar with. Obviously, I know Serrano, and obviously the main event. So I'll need to do a bit of research into that tonight. But this will be good. We'll get an idea of the fighters. How much will the pay-per-view be on Showtime? $60 apparently. $60. 12 rounds, I'm sure, were in for the Truman Show. 8 rounds for the main event. Serrano's doing 10 rounds. Kyan, shout out to you. Hope you are well. Shout out to everyone that's joining us for this press conference. Has not started yet, so you are not missing anything at the moment. If you are just joining us, we have literally just gone over to the Hard Rock, and we are just waiting for Woodley and Jake Paul to come out. Yeah, they're saying that if this is going to be another close fight, I don't think that's what either guy is looking for. So they said expect some fireworks this weekend. $60, what a rip-off. Is Tommy Fury betting on this fight? Has it properly started? Well, it's started, but we haven't got Jake Paul out there yet. We've got 2 presenters, and we can see the undercard fighters in the background. We're just waiting for Woodley and Jake Paul. I'm guessing they'll be announced, and they'll come walking out on the actual when it actually starts. They're talking about how Woodley feels that he's got a better, stronger performance in him than what we saw last night. And will that show itself on Saturday night? 500,000 for the knockout as well. That is a significant talking point. Woodley wins, which sets up the trilogy, says Gary. Dave, shouldn't Woodley be a foot shorter in the graphic behind you? Maybe. I didn't make that graphic. Shout out to Orbit Token. Shout out to Orbit Token. I don't know what that is. Is that a cryptocurrency? Shout out to cryptocurrencies. Football versus basketball, says AZN. Has it properly started? As we said, it should be starting relatively soon. They said neither of these guys are in sell mode like they were for the first fight. That might show itself tonight, to be honest. It's a really interesting point. He says, like, they weren't doing that yesterday. We weren't seeing them trash talking yesterday. There was just a lot of confidence in themselves. Tickets available for this. Still, you can still get tickets. That's kind of surprising, isn't it? They said we are just moments away from getting going. And they're interested to see, you know, we didn't get the trash talking yesterday. Will we get it today? I would imagine that it will be there because it really does a lot to sell the fights. Days, good morning. Johnny, shout out to you. Adil said the UEFA Nations League draw has been made. England played Germany and Italy. Interesting comment. Who do you think Tommy would put money on if he was to bet? It's a very close fight, isn't it? So I genuinely don't know. There's no way he would tell you that he would put money on Jake, but welcome to Champa Bay, the city of champions. Paul Woodley too. So we are underway. We haven't had Jake Paul come walking out, but we have seen the robot, the Jake bot or whatever it's called. Fight bot. England, Hungary, Italy, Germany. To stream UFC pay-per-views in America, you buy the ESPN Plus add-on with Hulu for $14 a month. Hulu and the add-on is cheaper than $60, says Dizzle Dog. Woodley had Paul hugging the ropes. Why didn't he finish him? I think that he didn't want to get sucked into getting countered or, leaving himself too exposed. If he went racing in, he could have got clipped. And there's no denying Jake Paul has got power, and I think you have to respect that. And a fight with two guys that want to run it back. An explosive fight. Oh, 4-fight pay-per-view card. So 3 of those fights we won't see. So he's just talking about how you can get a hold of the fight. So 4-fight main card, I think, is very interesting. Talking about how it's available around the world. Will you be streaming Parker Chisora? No. Why did the skeleton start a fight? Because he had a bone to pick. Okay. They're just going through the fights first. Talking about Taylor against Avila first. Woodley is out there. I didn't even notice Woodley had come out. I thought that he was going to get announced out. Woodley is actually sat. Is Jake Paul sat there with like a... Seems to have a balaclava on. Is Jake Paul wearing a balaclava? Jake Paul appears to be wearing some kind of headwear. So at the moment, we're not talking with Jake and Woodley. I didn't even see they'd come out. There was no. I thought there'd be some introductions for them. What is your prediction in the Arab Cup? I haven't been watching the Arab Cup, dude, so I can't predict it. I have no idea who's playing well, who's favourites. It's not been on our radar. The press conference is on YouTube on Showtime Sports. Also on Fight TV as well if you're in the UK. At the moment, they're just talking to the undercard. This Taylor Avila trash talking is rubbish. Just want to get up the card. Paro and Alamo they're moving on to now. But is it that you're not streaming Chisora Park because it clashes with Premier League? Yeah, I mean we've got Premier League in the day, and we've got UFC, and we've got Jake Paul and Woodley, so it's too much on my plate. I couldn't take any more than that because we need to obviously prepare for all of those as well. So when someone asks for fight, just say you are a vegetarian. I want to have a look. I mean, like, I understand them promoting the undercard, and that's cool. I'm totally down for that. But I do want to just get to Paul and Woodley, like all of you. So they're just talking to Liam Parrow at the moment, who's taking on Alamo. This might be our first fight on the actual main card. Days, did you see Kevin Lee got signed? I did, yes, I did. Johnny says AEW is messing with us. It's not cool. Bonkers, shout out to you. Throws over to Yomar, his opponent. I'm just looking at Woodley is just sat there, just like this. Yeah, not moving. Just really, he's got shades on. He's looking very relaxed. Jake Paul, if that is Jake Paul, is wearing some kind of balaclava, is wearing some kind of headgear, and he's got a belt in front of him. I have no idea what belt that would be. I don't know who gave him a belt. I remember Triller giving him a Fight Club belt, but it ain't that. I don't know what he's got in front of him. Are you doing Liverpool tonight? We are, yeah. Over on Football Days. That's not for a little bit yet. It's about an hour, or is it about an hour? Anyone know what Jake Paul is wearing? I haven't got a clue, Gavin. I haven't got a clue. There's been no close-up of him, so all you keep seeing is like a wide shot that shows all of the fighters, and you've just got someone in like what looks to be a balaclava. At the moment, we are still working our way through the undercard. This is the first fight on the main card they're dealing with at the moment. Host has got no charisma. They need Big E, said Just Alex. See, Shop said, Days, I bought 2 WWE live tickets and someone broke into my cart and left 4 more. TD said the trash talking is trash. Yeah, it's rubbish. I think part of the problem is just not bothered about these fighters. I mean, it's hard to like pay attention to this when Jake Paul sat there with like a balaclava on, and I don't know what that belt is in front of him. Football versus basketball. Frank Gore. Played in the Super Bowl, Frank Gore. Against Darren Williams. Gold medalist at the Olympics. All-star in the NBA. Is this interesting to people? Is Frank Gore against Darren Williams interesting? Because Frank Gore, never even heard of him. NFL's 3rd all-time leading rusher. People are going to be surprised with my skill set, says Frank Gore. Maybe this will bring some attention. I have no idea. What time is the fight tomorrow? There's no fight tomorrow. On Saturday. It's early hours, isn't it? So on Saturday, I believe the card starts 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. But that won't be when the main fight starts. I'm excited for my boy Ricky Simon to go to work on Saturday. Sweet Trini said the rumors are they gave Kevin Owens an unbeatable contract, and even his AEW friends said he should take it. Kevin Owens is not all elite. Lol. Sweet Trini, did you hear that Jake Paul's the GOAT? Did you hear that, Sweet Trini? Jake Paul's the GOAT. No, Days not interested, says Bonkers. Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to get a read because, like, I don't know these two fighters, so... Or these two people, they don't mean anything to me. Frank Gore said he's not looking at Darren as a basketball player. I'm ready. He says, I'm ready. They're going to see some good stuff. I don't see Darren Williams as being a basketball player on Saturday. No idea who the favourite is there. As I said, never heard of either. You never heard of Frank Gore? Me neither, said Miss Clown One. I just saw WrestleMania's title for the latest video. When's the start of the conference started? But started. We're just going through the undercard. Here we go. Co-main event now. Here we go. Serrano, Gutierrez. 5 knockouts, Gutierrez. 14-1. Making her USA debut. Yep. Pound for pound, arguably the best female fighter in the world, Amanda Serrano. 41-1. $30 of them by knockout. It's a big deal, isn't she, Amanda Serrano? She definitely provides legitimacy to this card. They're swooning over her. She is at the elite. So they're really like building her up, bigging her up. When is the start of the conference? She said it started. Frank Gore was a running back for the San Francisco 49ers and the Oakland Raiders, says Adrian. Okay, so they're asking Serrano the importance of this fight. Serrano said that her opponent is big and tough and durable. I've trained hard. And it's going to be a great night. So the Katie Taylor's getting mentioned. Is this a test? We know that Miriam's a tough fighter because she went the distance with Katie Taylor. Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor would be an amazing, amazing fight. No more questions about Katie Taylor. Amanda Serrano does not want to be talking about Katie Taylor. She says, Miriam is my opponent come Saturday. That's really interesting. That's really interesting. I like that she's focused on her opponent, but is the Katie Taylor talk just getting to her a little bit? That's really interesting. Days, I found if you pay for the pay-per-view via Fight, it's $18.02, whereas if you pay for it through the Fight app, it's $22.99. So if you're in the UK, pay via the website and save yourself $4.97. There we go. That's Retribution's top money-saving tip of the day. Orbit token and their NFTs are undervalued, and they have got huge potential. Dude. All cryptocurrencies claim to have huge potential. Right, we're just hearing from Miriam Gutierrez. So Gutierrez says she's here to fight the best, and she's really excited to face Amanda Serrano. Bunker, shout out to you. When is the fight? It's on Saturday, bud. Yep, and we are doing it. We are doing it. Gonna be all over it. The next bit after this is Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley. We will be hearing from them next. Days, in my opinion, Taylor would... In your opinion, Taylor would beat Serrano. Do you see yourself as a test for Katie Taylor? How do you see this fight? Oh, do you think Serrano's took you because you went the distance with Katie Taylor? Again, Katie Taylor getting mentioned, man. Days, how did your crypto venture go? I just had a little money in a few things. Put a bit in Doge, put a bit in ETC. I didn't touch Bitcoin, but I just put a bit in a few little bits. It was all right. It did all right. I mean, the whole market seems to be a bit flat at the moment. But all cryptocurrencies claim to be the big next thing, so... I just want to watch Tyron legit get angry, said Big Lighter. No Cat Popeye, shout out to you. It's interesting seeing you compete at 135. Serrano said, I have fought at 135 before. My power is real. I take it wherever I go. This girl is a natural 135er. And it's going to be a big test for me. So I'm really into this co-main. Really into... There's some lovely... lovely, like, kind of story going on here. Katie Taylor looming large in the background of this one. Ziyech not satisfied with lack of Chelsea game time as Borussia Dortmund consider a January transfer, says Jordan. Liverpool are going to smash Newcastle. We are doing that game in an hour. Days in 2022, Tyson Fury and Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. Who have you got? What do you mean? Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. I was leaning Tommy Fury. The problem with crypto is unless you start off with investing a huge chunk, you'll hardly make any meaningful returns. Crypto is basically designed for the rich to get richer. Chelsea boss Tuchel said he will contact Aubameyang over Arsenal axing. Have you got closed captions or do you understand them? I understand what they're saying because they're talking English. I don't understand what Gutierrez is saying, but it is being translated. Still waiting to go to the main event and hear from Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley, which we should do now. So they're just telling us about Gutierrez's backstory. She apparently suffered from domestic abuse, domestic violence, and that kind of spurred her to go into boxing and fighting. Okay. Main event. Here we go. Here we go. The chosen one. And the problem child. Yeah, Jake, I mean, I don't know. That's not really a balaclava, is it? I don't know quite what it is. I mean, it is. It's like a ninja. It's the kind of thing a ninja would wear. What is he wearing? And what is that belt? It's like a belt a child has made. It's got like loads of bright colours on. I don't know if it says MVP in the middle or something. Most valuable boxer. It's MVB. What is he wearing? What is he wearing? He said, "This is. I'm wearing a ski mask because this is a bank robbery. You're gonna give me a big bag to beat a guy that I've already beaten." It's got Rolexes on the side. He's had himself a belt made. He's had himself a belt made. Oh, it's so this is guitar, man. Just when you think he can't find new levels of cringe, he finds them. He manages to find them. I want to see if I can find a picture of that belt. No, I'll show it on screen. I don't know what to tell you, man. Things happen for a reason. Right, I'm gonna show you the. There it is. Look, there's that belt that we're talking about. He sent this out 42 minutes ago. Painted by Alex Monopoly. It's my $500,000 Christmas present. It's hand painted by one of the greatest artists of our generation. It's ugly. Look at it. Look at it. He spent $500,000 on that. I find that deeply upsetting. Right. Woodley said this is unfinished business. If he can knock me out, he'll get 500k on top. Listen, if he's spending 500k on that ugly belt, that means this 500k means nothing to Jake Paul, clearly. Okay. He's asking Tyron a question. I rewatched the fight. 4th round. You almost knocked this man into the 4th row. Why didn't you finish it? Jake has shown that when he finishes people, he's not really looking at them at the time. They ran in and they just rushed into a right hand. Yeah, it's exactly what we said. He does have power. It's interesting. It's interesting how Tyron Woodley's talking about how high the ropes were, how tight the ropes were. He's backing up, walk him down. So he's explaining as to why he didn't finish Jake Paul. How much did he spend on that trash belt? Whatever it was too much. Anything over $50 and he was robbed. $500,000. Apparently. Yeah, Tyron Woodley says, I was the one that was in there. I saw what I saw and I had to go off my experience. It's a young kid. He hadn't gone a long fight. It is true, we didn't know how Jake would do going into the deep waters. That's fair. I thought it was a really good answer from Woodley. He was just talking about how you wanted me to knock him out for you, but I was the one that was in there with all my experience, and to me, I wanted to walk him down. We hadn't seen him go into deep waters. I didn't feel the need to rush it. I'd seen that he had knocked people out with his power in the past, and I didn't want to be another victim, basically. Jake Paul said, my career has become shutting people the F up. If Jake wins the next fight, if Jake wins, I will fight Jake next, says Edward. What's the stuff on the left of the belts? There's a bag that's been sewn on, apparently. So there's Rolexes and watches and whatnot on that side. On that side, there's a bag, a little bag. I don't know if it's like a... don't know. Jake Paul said, I hurt him multiple times. Tyron felt my power. You fell forward into my arms, Jake Paul says to Woodley in the 7th. Every time you hit me, I walked you down, says Woodley. You definitely didn't win 7 rounds. If you hit me with the hardest shots, why didn't I back up, says Woodley. Let him answer that. I didn't hit you with my best shot, says Jake Paul. Why didn't you, says Woodley. It was a bad night, says Jake Paul, but I still beat you. Saturday's going to be a bad night, says Woodley. How will you be different? You'll see, says Jake Paul. He seems annoyed. Jake Paul seems annoyed. He's like, you'll see. Woodley said, this is the 9th round for me. No, I mean, look, the biggest talking point will be Jake Paul in a flipping ski mask and the ugly belt that he brought. Right, so we've thrown over to the press now. Days needs a $500,000 belt. Okay, the press are talking to the undercard fighters now. Who do you think's going to win? I'm leaning to Jake Paul getting another decision, to be honest. I mean, I'm thinking it might be more of the same. Question for Anthony Taylor now. Paul versus Woodley 2, leave no doubt. So you lot have got Jake Paul winning 49%, Tyron Woodley winning 46%, a draw 5%. Days, who's more cringe, Hit Row or Jake Paul? It's close. Probably Jake Paul, but he uses it to his advantage, doesn't he? He uses it as a way to get... I mean, he irritates people to the point where they want to see him get knocked out. That's his plan. That's what he does, and he does it very, very well. Even this belt, I mean, there's every chance this belt is not 500,000. There's every chance that's not 500,000. There's every chance that it is. But what you can't deny is it is ugly. It is an ugly belt that people will look at and just think brings shame to boxing, and it just looks ugly. It's awful. It's just awful. That is a belt that has been made for someone that's got too much money and doesn't know what to do with it. It's ugly. And that just irritates. It's irritating. You look and it's just sat there and it's like he's gone and made himself a belt. Even that's irritating. He's made himself a belt. Most valuable boxer. I think people are using the poll to say who they want to win and not who they think will actually win, says Michael. Well, I asked the question, what will the result be? I didn't ask, who do you want to win? But there probably is a little bit of that, but... I mean... Jake Paul obviously took the first, so he's got to come in as favourite for this. Right, the question at the moment is to Deron Williams, if you could have a whole fighting card with NBA basketball players, who would it be? This is dull. Why are they not asking questions of Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley? Jake is not a real boxer until he fights a real boxer. What was your last holiday when I went to America in 2018? So I went to America in 2018, but I mean, Wasn't really a holiday because I was doing like loads of toy hunts and filming and everything. So. Okay. Have you said that Woodley's power was a 4? Have you been hit by anyone that was a 7 or so? And Jake Paul says, yes, I definitely have. He hit me with it. I was off balance, yada yada. It's good that we actually got a flipping question for the main eventers. Jake was running, so don't ask me about his power. I can tell you about his track speed. Okay, well, at least we got a question for them. Tyron. Jake Paul has compared himself to the next Muhammad Ali. Tyron Woodley's like, I don't care. I'm just focused on Saturday and whooping him. You're right, Days. It'll be more of the same, says Bean Taco. I agree with you, Days, but I was thinking why it would be that close. I do think that we'll get largely the same. The only way that I think we get a different fight is if Woodley changes his strategy, and I just don't know. I don't know how much he's going to do that. Woodley said, if I don't get it done on Saturday, then there won't be any talk of a trilogy fight, because they were just asking about would there be a trilogy. I must say, there's not much trash talk in here. I mean, as we said, the biggest thing we've had is Jake Paul in a ski mask bringing that ugly belt. Jake Paul seems a bit frustrated, actually. I'm definitely getting that vibe. He's like, just effing tune in to Showtime if you want to see the fight. Like, it just seems to be a little bit... I don't know, like he doesn't want to be there. Serrano, they're talking to Serrano right now. It looks like an actual belt that he actually spilt ketchup, mayo, and Vimto on. Days, I expect you to make a belt out of things you find around your home to wear for this match. Do you think Kyle O'Reilly will be in wrestling? Yes. Right, got another question here. In Spanish for Gutierrez. She'll be taking on Amanda Serrano in the co-main. She said it's a great honor to be fighting. And I think he said one more. He tells the questions for Woodley. Would you recommend other MMA fighters take this path and get a paycheck like after their career is over? Jake Paul jumps in and says, yeah, if they want to lose. Woodley says, shut up, child. The men are talking. I suggest people do. I don't know what it is about this kid that makes me excited to train. Not every MMA fighter should box, but some should. Woodley said, I'm doing this for myself. It's interesting. They've got a deal in the States and Showtime, $9.99 a month. Would you ever consider taking an MMA fight? And Jake Paul says, yeah, sure. Woodley's like, let's do MMA then. Let's do MMA after the boxing stuff then. Jake Paul saying that he'd be interested in doing MMA is very interesting in itself. But he was not talking about doing it with Woodley. I smashed a PlayStation 2 case with a Nerf gun. Interesting. Do you know Deadlock? I've heard of them. Deadlock Wrestling. Right, they're gonna do a face-off. So it looks like we're just going to be getting some face-offs just to wrap this up. That's the end of the questions. Takeaways from it. Takeaways are Jake Paul turning up in a ski mask, saying that he's turned up in a ski mask because this is going to be a robbery. He's already beaten this guy, and so he's just getting money for free. He brought an ugly belt with him that we got to see. We're actually getting the face-off first with Jake Paul and Woodley right now, face-to-face. Paul has got the belt over his shoulder. He's still wearing the ski mask. It's a weird face-to-face, man. Jake Paul with a flipping ski mask on and that ugly belt over his shoulders. What's Woodley got? Woodley's got something in his hands as well. Has Woodley got a... What's Woodley holding? Oh, I think it's a bandana, actually. I thought it was a blade. I thought he had a knife or something. It looked like a little kind of blade, but I think it was just the end of his bandana. Now we've got the face-offs. Nothing, no pushing or shoving. They didn't even get in each other's face that close. Now we've got Serrano and Gutierrez. Gutierrez, good size compared to Amanda Serrano. Maybe just a whisper taller, you know. Really looking forward to that fight. I don't give a flip about the rest of this card, but I'm really looking forward to this co-main. And as we said, you know, the shadow of Katie Taylor looms large over that co-main. This is basketball against football player. Neither of these guys have fought before. Both have got 0-0 records. That's going to be our Coco main event. And then we've got Alamo and Paro. That fight, I think, start in the card. I was at a packed bar for the McGregor-Mayweather fight. They lost power for a few minutes. Everyone freaked out. The firefighters came and watched it with us. That's amazing. That's great, Dizzle Dog. Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, the second most bought pay-per-view ever after Pacquiao-Mayweather. But Jake Paul, Ben Askren hit the top 10. Okay, so we're just getting face-to-faces. It's got another one here. I think this is the Anthony Taylor one, is it? Anthony Taylor and Chris Avila. Space Jam 3 and 2022, if they do make them, Jake Paul should be in it. Jordan with the Everton lineup. Is there no Damari Gray? Is Gray not playing? Flip. And there it is. Done. So, yeah, done. I think it was not kind of what I was expecting a lot more kind of banter. I was expecting a lot more one-liners. They seem to be focused a lot on the rest of the card. Like, a good 80-odd% of that is them talking about the other fights. So, the little bit of Jake Paul you do get, ski mask and belt being the main takeaways. Couple of little lines there between Woodley and Jake Paul, but nothing too much. Both of these guys, you know what it means to them. You know that they both want to win. You know that Woodley's coming in at short notice. We know that this was meant to be Jake Paul against Tommy Fury. There was very little talk of Fury here. I can't really remember much at all. Maybe a little mention right at the start, but yeah. I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a really weird press conference. You maybe expected more from them to like really drum up the fights. Like this has been their only opportunity to really build this fight. There hasn't been another press conference with these two, and yeah, I mean honestly, Jake Paul just seems like he didn't want to be there. Just shut the F up and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It was a weird one. It was definitely a weird one. Right, guys, we're done. Anyway, don't forget, we are back this weekend, and we will be doing the fight. I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope you're looking forward to it as well. Make sure you're joining us for that. This Saturday night, we've got Jake Paul against Tyron Woodley. We will be watching the undercard. We will be watching UFC. There's a lot to look forward to. So big shout out to everyone that's joined us. Really appreciate the support, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.